Welcome to the Ordinary Guy Garage. I'm Scott, just an ordinary guy. So today we're gonna work on the S10, so hang tight. I have a laundry list of things to get done on the S10 before we hit the track this year. So, I literally have well, it's not really a laundry list, but it's a list, so I have a list of things that we need to get done. So, I mentioned before the rat's nest of wiring. You know, that's got to be updated and taken care of, so that's on my list. I also have a switch that I ordered for it last year. I just never put it on, and it's a nitrous switch, and what it does is the nitrous won't activate no matter what if you're on your trans brake, which is pretty neat. So the way I have mine set up is how do I have it set up? I don't remember. I can't remember it. Anyways, I'm going to wire that little circuit board into it, and that'll take care of that. Let's see. Neutral safety switch, I realized last year it wasn't working, so that might just be a wire, come undone or something. I'll take care of that. I have to get a new set of slicks. I have another steering column that I might put in it. We'll see how much time I get for that. Gauges, I bought new gauges for it finally. I've been using these really cheap, the cheapest set that Summit sells. I put them in like 10 years ago, and they work fine mostly. The water gauge will take its time coming up to temperature sometimes. Sometimes it just won't read for a while, and that's kind of frustrating when you're getting up to the line. You want to know where you're at, and your gauge is sitting at 0. So and you tap on it and jiggle the wire, and nothing works. So I bought a couple good gauges to replace those. The gauges, the exhaust. I have to do something about the exhaust. Let me walk us over here, and I can explain what the problem is with my exhaust. I have really good headers. I have the Hedman fender well headers right there. It's a really good set. And then I have, you can see, I go back into the 3-inch mufflers and then to turnouts or turndowns, whatever you want to call them. And it worked really well, but the problem is I have them coming out. Let me move the camera again. They come out right about here, right behind the back door. All right, so right about the back door, they come out, and then right behind it is the tire. So with the horsepower that the truck's making now, and with the nitrous on it, I don't want to have my exhaust coming out right in front of my slicks. If I happen to smoke the motor and it oils down my slicks at, top end of the track, that could be bad. So I'm gonna ditch the mufflers, and I'm gonna run just straight out the side way up here in the front. So, and they'll just be open headers. I never drive this thing on the street, so I'll just run open headers. The other thing that I've already done to it or started doing is I put a diaper also on here. So that is, the engine diaper is down in here underneath all of that. So that was another reason for pulling the motor out. Well, I kind of had to with the freeze plugs the way they were, but I had planned on pulling the motor out to put that in because of my cross member, there's not enough room to get it in. So that's in. That way, blow up the motor, top into the track or whatever. It's not all over the track, and it's not running underneath my back tires. So that's pretty much it. So the other plan that I have is the suspension. Now, I'll let you know what I'm gonna do with the suspension. Right now, I have the Moroso trick springs on the front, which worked really well when the truck was running, 12s and 11s. But there's too much movement in the front. If you've seen in some of my other videos, a lot of people have commented about it. And what's happening is the front end comes up, picks the wheels up, comes back down, comes back up, comes back down, and you could just see it kind of doing that. So each time it does that, it's loading and unloading the rear suspension, and so it's kind of all over the place. So I talked to a couple people about shocks and stuff, and they said, well, the best thing to do is something besides trick springs with the shocks, because trick springs are very difficult to control because they have a lot of stored energy and they're real soft. So I'm going to pull the trick springs out, and I'm going to put the stock springs back in. I have a set that was new just a couple of, well, new way back when I first put the truck together, but they've only been on the track. So I'm going to throw those springs in the front with the three-way adjustable shocks. That's going to be my front plan. And for the rear, I'm going to order up a set of double adjustables for the rear. Hopefully that'll give me enough, and a new set of slicks, and hopefully that'll give me what I need. So enough about all that. We're going to start right now by just swapping out the front springs. This is my setup that I've been using. Like I said, it worked really well, but not so much anymore. So if you got like a 12-second truck, this is the way to go. For cheap, this was done really cheap. I have Speedway upper control arms. I think they're for G-body. I think they're both right-hand side, because they sell them, you know, they're used, I guess, like in the dirt track and stuff. So one side's longer than the other. I think the left is longer. So use two right-hand sides. It has solid, you know, a solid bushing kind of setup in there. Then on the bottom, I use a factory control arm, and then I have the solid bushings in there that I also ordered from Speedway. And that's pretty much it. That's all on there. And then I have it like the bottom where it bolts in, I have that set kind of loose. So that way it has as much movement as possible. So let's go ahead and get this thing apart. I thought it'd be a great idea to get a cat out here, you know, now. This cat's all over me. Wait, I gotta get a hammer. Hang on. Kitty. Now this is my tool for removing the springs. So basically what it is, it's just a piece of all thread, the little thing on the bottom, and then I'll put a couple nuts on the bottom. And what this does, we'll take it with the nuts like that on the top. Okay. All right, and then we bolt this onto the bottom. There's two, so you can double nut it. All right, I got the all thread in, down to the bottom through the control arm. The only thing I have right now loose is the bottom ball joint. Everything else is still tight. And then what I'll do is I'll start compressing it right through here like the shock absorber would be in there, and just start compressing it. Just got to get a little bit on there so I can take the lower A arm loose. both front and rear of the A-frame A-arm bolts are out. Ball joint's loose now, and see, and everything stays in place, and it's all contained because you got the all thread going through it. So now we just gotta loosen up the all thread, and the whole thing will come down, and you'll still have all your teeth or your eye or whatever. Me, it'd probably be my eye. I'd lose my eye. But you know, the bummer here is this, I had a 3/4 inch ratcheting wrench, which is what's perfect on here. And when I was putting the skirting around the bottom of our house, I was using it and it was working really good to tighten, you know, to put the boards down. And it slipped and fell underneath the house. And I thought, you know, I don't use that wrench that much. I'm not crawling underneath there and getting it. Today is the first day I'm like, oh, I need that. But still don't want to go underneath there. I don't like going underneath houses. So anyways, I'm going to undo this, as you can see, undo the bolt, and I'll get back to you. Got the lower control arm off. I just undid that all thread until it got to the point where the spring was shaking around in there, and I could undo that nut by hand. The other thing I do with that all thread is I grease it pretty good where the nut's going to go on, because all thread isn't designed to be used like that. You know, it'll gall and it gets stuck and all that, the cheap metal that's in there. So I just grease it up pretty good. And it seems to have, I've done quite a few springs. I think I did the springs in the El Camino this way, and I've done them in and out of here a couple of times. So it's worked for a while for me. Okay, now this is what I was talking about on the lower control arms. These are the solid bushings. I got these from Speedway too. And I just keep them greased pretty good. They got a little Zerk fitting on the bottom of them to grease them. And what I do, there's two different sizes. The one that's in the front are two different bushings. So the one in the front's a little bit bigger. So what I do is this one here, I got a grade 8 bolt, and then I got the nylon lock nut on it. And I'll crank it down to where it doesn't move back and forth, and it's almost snug. And the Teflon will hold it on. I just check it periodically, but it stays there. And then the same thing with this one, except this bolt here has the factory nut that's kind of smashed a little bit, so it'll stay in place. And I do the same thing with the back one. That way, there's no tension on there, so it can move as free as possible. The top is also solid, but I don't have bolts going through it. It's all, you know, done there. So anyways, that's done. That spring's out. I got to pull the other one out. These are the factory springs that I'm going to put back in it. You know, when I bought them, you know, I wanted to get, you know, 4-cylinder springs. And the guy, I think I got them at Chief, or I don't think there's a Chief up here, but like Advance Auto or O'Reilly's. I think it was O'Reilly's. And I got them there, it was like $50. So I got, you know, they were cheap. And he said, oh, there's only one spring. You can't get different ones. So I just got what they had. And like I said, these worked pretty good. These worked pretty good in the truck. And then I went to the trick springs, and they worked better. But I think with the higher horsepower, I think that this is going to be my answer in the short term. Long term, I'll probably end up doing double adjustables, coilovers on the front, so I have a lot more adjustability. But for right now, this here, I believe, will slow down the front end and help with my traction problem. So I'm gonna get everything cleaned up and start throwing it all back in. All right, everything's kind of cleaned up, cleanish, I guess. So anyways, I'm gonna put it back together. Now this, I've seen people asking about this before. You have one side of the spring that's almost flat, See how that's really close right there? And then the other side where there's a space in there. That side right there you want inside of the A arm. You can see down in here, there's a little bit of a notch right there, and that's where that is supposed to sit. The one in the top is flat. So you want to put it like that. Put it in the notch. Yeah, let me move the stool. Right underneath like that. Loosen this guy up here a bit. See, I put a lot of grease on there, so that way you'll, I don't know if you can see it, but I put a lot of grease on the all thread to try to keep it alive. All right. All right, you can see I got the spring in there, into the A arm and the all thread through there. But this has got a lot, the spring's a little bit shorter than it is on the trick spring. So I'm gonna put the floor jack underneath it and bring it all up to where it's touching, and then I'll start tightening it up. No sense doing that all that way. So let me grab the jack. All right, got that side all done, buttoned up, torqued it down or tightened it up. And I guess I should be a little bit more specific about what I mean by snug up on those bottom A-frame or A-arm bolts. I got them in there tight enough, you can still turn it. The whole bolt will still turn in there, but it's not like finger tight, So, I mean, and there's threads sticking out of the nut on the other side, a good little chunk. So, I'm not saying loosen up all the suspension on your truck or car or whatever and go, driving around town, because, that would be dumb. This is I only drive it on the track, and I check those all the time. So, and I do this for me. So if it's my own dang fault. So don't go loosening up stuff and driving on the street. So anyways, so that side's done. I'm gonna do the other side. I'm not gonna video that because, it's the same thing. And then I'm gonna start on the next thing. So that'll wrap up the spring so I can cross that off. I think probably the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tackle the wiring. I think I'll do wiring, and then I'll start on the exhaust from there. So that'll probably be my next video, is wiring. So thanks again for watching and hanging out, and for the comments. Make sure you leave one. If you got any ideas for me or any questions or whatever, go ahead and throw them up there, and I'll do my best to answer them. And I appreciate you guys doing that. And of course, give me a thumbs up, because it's cool, I guess. Anyways, thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.